Welcome to the USS Iowa, BB-61 registry, formerly of the U.S. Navy, now be decommissioned in the U.S. Navy Trust and the Battleship Memorial Foundation.
I'm just circling, so.
Basically, after World War II and the Korean War, in 1990, decades later, after the Department of Defense saw that the Battleship had outlived its purpose, the Iowa had been decommissioned for a second time as a mothball ship and then recommissioned for a day while the Navy decided what to do with her, and eventually they decided to retire her into service of the Battleship Memorial Foundation. And she was moved one final time to the Port of Los Angeles.
Where we are today.
Yep. Behind over here, you see the main guns, turret 1 and 2. These are 16-inch main cannons.
Right here, you can stay in the shot.
Which can blast a hole upwards of 32 miles away at their maximum rotational vertical axis, up to a degree of 16 inches thick. And these over here are 50 cal guns, typically used for anti-air defense. They have a maximum vertical axis, 30 to 40 degrees of vertical rotation.
So kind of like that one?
Yes. They shoot 50 cal bullets, or rounds if you will, from the box magazine, and are very, very ideal for shooting down torpedo planes.
And this is kind of the exact mount that it was always in? They just grabbed it?
Yep, nothing has been changed. This is the actual mount, this is the actual screws, and this is the actual gun. Nothing has been altered.
So, for instance, for dangerous places, like, was this one of the most dangerous up here with the anchors?
Actually, surprisingly, no. This is one of the safest because of everything that you're protected by. I mean, even operating the anchors was done from the bridge.
Right, but if anybody was standing near these when they threw out the anchor.
Oh. I mean, you're trained not to do that, but if you do it anyway, I mean, yeah, you can fall to your death. You can get tagged under with an undertow, but that's your own damn fault.
Because, I mean, looking at these...
They're mechanically operated, you see?
Well, yeah, but like, the weight of these plus how heavy they are, they're... what?
Several tons.
Yeah. And the size of what, a couple human arms?
Easily enough, yeah. And these would take at least several men to actually lift and like move. This is why they're mechanically operated from the tower up there, the bridge, the conning tower.
And that's about accurate. 15,000 pounds pull at 125 feet.
Yeah, 125 feet per minute with 10-inch hawser, hauling capacity 67,000 pounds.
Which is...
The anchor ropes go in through here, they're stored, and in through these drums. And they're fed all the way up through here, around here, and into the sea.
And then you also have the ropes there.
Very few ships even use anchors anymore.
So that whole thing about when people show that they're actually used for turning a ship, it's much easier here to just use the engines.
Yeah. The engines, the propellers, the rudder. The anchor is more, I mean, they're still equipped with anchors. The anchor's more of an elastic sort of thing.
And I'm guessing this hatch was if they needed to get off the deck really fast.
If they had to get down into the bowels of the ship really fast, yes. There are other ways to do it, but that's...
And are these intakes or...
yes, this is a vent for a lot of the excess, the waste heat, the smokestacks that they can't vent.
Right.
Not actual smoke, but I mean, yeah.
Then what about those?
Same thing.
Or are these more like pushing out?
These are vents.
Okay, so those are for air. Yes. This is for air circulation coming out. That is for air circulation going in.
Yes. So for the waste heat that builds up in the ship,
and
you'll find this on ships as old as, say, the Titanic. They had these too. because any ship generates waste heat.
And the reason they have a lot of them is just in case one gets damaged. Plus, it's for different
1, 2, 3, 4 get
compartments.
damaged. Yeah, exactly.
So this is a separate compartment than that up there. And so if you don't have anything, why have the wires?
Communications antennas, radar. Just remember, this is a warship.
Okay.
And everything is hooked up to the main mast and forecastle.
So it was better to do a wire like this to run communications and also, for lack of a better word, rigging.
Yes. And you'll see a lot of ships and even aircraft today even have them.
Oh, aircraft carriers, yeah. And this netting type was also standard,
Yes.
so people wouldn't fall off the ship.
Yeah, this has obviously been replaced for netting, but they still had it back then too, because they didn't want to risk sailors falling overboard.
Okay, and then like it looks like these can drop down.
That
Right
was
here.
usually used for maintenance purposes.
Okay. And then why the bell?
Every ship has a bell,
It's just old tradition.
especially in the Navy. Doesn't matter if it's a battleship, destroyer, cruiser, light cruiser, gunship, what have you. Every ship has a bell. That's just ship's main bell, and usually used to do different things.
Okay, what about this? What's this for? It looks like it has writing on it. Is this like manual
It's the
operating
normal-
speed?
Yes, this is to operate the speed of the chains.
So,
Thank you. These are all. See, one of these corresponds to each one of the drums.
oh, so originally you had 4 anchors, but they knocked it down to 2 because...
No, you had 2 anchors. One controlled one direction of the chains, one controlled the other direction of the chains.
Oh! Of course, we have another hatch here. With their dog, I guess they had a dog here or something.
They do have a dog. It's for the kids to find the dog.
Okay.
2 anchors here in the bow, port, and starboard. Each weighing 3,000 pounds. Ship's anchors are raised and lowered by 225 horsepower hydroelectric windlass. Each anchor chain link weighs 128 pounds, and there are approximately 1,000 links.
So what's with also the yellow and blue flag?
Can signify different things. They're always used for signaling.
Okay.
Yellow can mean as simple as caution, blue can mean go ahead.
Well, hold on. So to give them an idea of the gun, just, I guess, stand next to the...
Oh yeah.
So basically...
Got a pretty good idea of the size of this main cannon.
Right. And... Okay, so I guess those 2 side parts weren't original. They look like they have
Well,
sights on them.
Yeah, they had sights, and this was an advanced battleship at the time. It was designed in the 30s and put into operation in the mid-40s.
Okay.
It was designed to be a successor of the White Fleet, essentially.
So, but this is, I'm guessing, the original decking that was replaced
Yeah.
afterwards, and you had the rotation almost to a ridiculous point of this. And because of these, especially with this one, they were incredibly worried about somebody pretty much getting, well, knocked over when the guns were turning. That's why
Pretty
nobody
much.
was...
That's why at battle stations, everyone is in their assigned place.
How many people were there? Was there usually anybody even on the deck?
Only those required to be so.
Which was usually, what, firefighting prep crew or something?
Pretty much, and they were required to be hunkered down. Like, an excellent example would be the battle between the Hood, Prince of Wales, and Bismarck. Everyone thinks that Bismarck was the greatest battleship of all time. No, that's not so. Bismarck is actually the weakest battleship of all time.
And then the rounds were these 2 put together, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they're where we really get our hand trolleys from. All right, well, what were those?
These drums?
Yeah.
Stabilization drums. They're essentially nothing more than weights.
I get the feeling that a lot of the 47 sailors who died were firefighting crews and gun crew.
Primarily gun crew, and everyone who's in the vicinity of the turret at the time.
And these are all just stored here. They're not actually, but
no, this would be how these are.
Well, right, yeah, but and they had to load them like.
Well, they would be stored deep underneath.
Right.
And they would be lifted up through the deck.
And then you had the powder bags.
Yep. And they used to go through, like the crewmen would wear insulated suits, and they would hit the powder would be crammed in after the shots. 16-50 caliber sight trainer station and the sight trainer system aiming with the guns. Shooting from both sides of the turrets, that's these. Armored hoods, which house 12-inch Power Mark 66 telescopic sights with pointer and trainer positions.
So it was basically people looking through a combination of binoculars and rifle sights?
Integrated binoculars and integrated rifle sights.
Alright, so and I assume this talks about why they usually fired broadside, because otherwise you're basically, if you fire front and rear with these two, you're pushing the entire ship back.
And this is what we have thermodynamics and physics. The immense propulsive power of the guns actually creates a wake generator in the water.
Well, right, because you're in essence doing a massive explosion right here, so the energy's got to go somewhere. It's the same thing as like fire a gun in the rain. That entire wave effect that you get.
Yeah, because of the overpressure muzzle blast, a lot of rapidly displaced air presses against the bulkheads and decks. Those structures that are not armored actually flex inward just a bit, thus displacing air quickly inside the ship and causing loose items to fly around. Sort of like having your house sealed up with all windows and vents closed, and when you slam the front door quickly, the displaced air pops up the kitchen cabinets.
And for this, we have 5 levels in a single turret. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's not just the turret itself. That's what people don't really understand. It's common misconceptions.
Right.
The turret is actually like the size of a small mall in itself.
Holy crap. So, to fire an entire gun, 27 people, then 3, so you're up to 30. You're up to 34 on level 3. Then you're up to 64. And then 13. So we're talking 73 people to fire a single gun.
Oh yeah, and they all have their assigned duties and jobs.
Right.
You can't fix everything with automation.
Well, no, and I mean, it worked as almost a well-oiled machine because, well...
Gunhouse, 3 turret officers, 6 rangefinder computer operators, 6 sight pointers and trainers, 3 powder hoist operators for each gun, 9 gun assembly operators. Pan floor, located on this deck, are various turret training and gun elevating machinery, gun pits, and the primermen standing platforms. 3 primermen total. Electric deck, 3 gun layers and 1 training operator. Let's see, upper and lower projectile flat. 18 shellmen, 8 projectile hoist operators, 2 electricians, and 2 supervising petty officers.
So, and this was where all the shells were stored.
Yep.
And if you dropped one shell, even incorrectly, you'd basically be losing a limb.
At a minimum, you would also likely be not only killing yourself, you'd kill every one of your crewmates.
Because not just the powder, you also had the tip on the end, which was the explosive part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because these were explosive shells.
Oh yeah. Entirely. That's why ordnance officers had to wear protective clothing. Not that it would protect them, but that it would be safer to handle them. Armor piercing shell. You have base
and
plug
you have a high
fuse.
cap.
Yep, and high capacity shell. Ballistic cap, armor piercing cap, shell body, bursting charge.
Mm-hmm.
Bursting charge, shell body, nose fuse. Here it shows the entire diagram of the turret itself. So you have these two over here.
And that's the conveyor, which basically they were using stuff like almost cranes in slaughterhouses and metalworking areas, so you could.
That's where they got the idea in the first place.
So you would slide it across the hoist, and you had to be very careful with this part, I assume, sending it down all that way.
Gentle.
Because if you dropped it or wanged it against there. But the thing that most concerns me is this. Okay, so I assume these were all incredibly dangerous. Besides this one.
And it should be noted, the W-19, the Whiskey 19 nuclear shell was rarely ever used, and I think it was only used in practice.
So it was used for the test fires?
Yes. At just outside of Kwajalein Atoll, actually. They figured it was a better way to test a nuclear weapon than on Abandoned Atoll.
So this one especially was used against other ships. This one was used when you were on...
And this is what they were used for pretty much every practice session.
Right. This for practice sessions as well. This for practice session as well. But these were your three big ones, like this one and this one were the...
And this one they would use often for attacking things like troop ships.
Or if they were told fire on...
Or the rare occasions when a battleship actually got within range of an aircraft carrier.
So here's a question. Which one was used when they were attacking land?
Oh, easy. Armor piercing. If they were attacking a hardened enemy installation, or if they were attacking land in general, they would use basically the high capacity.
Why not use the firecracker?
Too scattered and not enough concentrated dose in one.
So, firecracker was a special purpose.
Again, firecracker was when they were attacking things like aircraft carriers, troop ships, things where they could cause a lot of mass casualties.
Okay.
Firecracker's good for unarmed, mass slayers of, or lightly armored mass slayers of troops.
And of course here, this is where we see one of the cranes, right here off to our right. Right there?
Yep. What are the ordnance cranes? It doesn't lift anything up, but that's good for loading from, actually it's good for loading multiple things, notably two things. Ordnance from ordnance ship to rearm, or life rafts.
Oh, and also, okay, it holds the gangplank.
Yeah.
So, they were usually this long because the amount of powder determined how long it would fire, right?
No, not really. This would be the primary weapon, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then these would be the powder caps.
Right, but the more powder caps you have, the more energy.
Theoretically, yes, but it would be standard to load this much in there regardless.
Right. And that was the load that they found worked, because too little...
The actual range would be determined by the elevation of the guns and the speed of the ship. It leads into a couple of the officers' quarters and the gunner's quarters. Diverges off into two areas here.
Do we get to go in there, or why is it chained off?
It's chained off.
Oh, it's chained. No, it's circular.
Yeah.
So we got to go this way.
Yeah. Going through there, and that gives you the entire inside of the turret.
Which we'll get to go in there after we go around, but we got to follow this. So they had these are basically early levels of Lexan, almost. Hardened glass.
Oh, yeah. These were easily about 2.5 inches thick.
And then during battle stations, they shut the covers because just in case they got hit, no glass shards blowing everywhere.
Right. This leads to the wardroom. We're going to take a trip from there.
And the reason they have it labeled as this And everything is they had to use drinking water, aka potable water, right?
They got water from the sea and purified on the Battleship, and then pumped it into for the sailors to use, and then pumped it back out.
Where they didn't have to use potable water for firefighting, they could use straight seawater.
Oh yeah, water. That's my water.
So what are these? Supposedly
Captains. Oh, they're just people who've donated.
Oh. Okay. Here's donated. Now, I've heard that you can, if you are from Iowa, you can actually get on here for free.
You can. You need to have your Iowa driver's license.
Yeah. So, and then this is what, a ship phone?
This is a modern phone, yes. This was put on during the Iowa's modernization in the late 80s.
And then, of course, they have all of these things because, as we said, we're in the wardroom.
Yeah. It's a wardroom, so you can actually, provide the commanding officer says, okay, you can dial into your home if you're homesick. But you need permission to do that first.
Right. And then in here, this is stuff when they do.
This is a galley.
When they actually serve things, this is the galley.
This is where all the food is prepped, or if you ask a chef, this is where the magic happens. But if you ask a military chef worth their salt, they'll tell you that no magic happens. You're lucky to get any food at all.
And those, I believe, right now are culinary guys on ships, right?
Yes.
I believe that. Oh yeah, they were called culinary specialists.
Still are. Nothing is going to change in that regard.
Well, it's the Navy. They have a step-by-step for how to wash your hands, and I think it's 15 steps.
And if you look over there, there is a separate area for the officers and enlisted. It's the same little food, but it's cooked a bit better.
And then we have, it looks like a projector and some other stuff, old TV.
Which in the late 80s is actually state-of-the-art.
Okay, wow, that's pretty cool. Battleship Iowa and Space Shuttle.
And carrier.
Salute Statue of Liberty. Battle Efficiency E Award in 1985, same year I was born. So that's the surrender ceremony.
At departing the surrender ceremony, October 15th, Iowa arrived in Seattle, Washington with a total of 962 passengers. Some were former POWs. Next protocol is Long Beach, California.
So we get the seaplane catapults, and then...
And then, after her third commissioning, the seaplane catapults were removed and the helipad is put in place.
Because everybody was all about the helipad.
So what? The only difference is now, although we don't use battleships anymore, we have guided missile cruisers, which have helipads in the back, or we use SOL or VTOL aircraft.
And that would be the Aegis cruisers, right?
No. Those are Arleigh Burke destroyers.
Ah.
And the Rampart class destroyers.
So in here we have her trips of fun time.
Rizal Kabir, Casablanca, Rota, Gibraltar. Now, at Rizal Kabir, the Iowa delivered President Roosevelt to his infamous meeting with Joseph Stalin and Winston Churchill
Okay.
in 1943 to determine the end of the war. Now, after that, she was sent to Pacific Fleet Command. That's Pearl Harbor, and then down to Pohnpei, Lake Atoll, Kwajalein, and Wake, Saipan, Tinian, Leyte Gulf, Luzon, Taiwan, Ryukyu Islands, Okinawa, Tanamera Bay, Columbia, Aitape, Palau, all to get ready for participating in the American land hopping campaign, or island hopping campaign, in order to prepare for the mass firebombing of Japan.
So we got Copenhagen and Oslo NATO exercises, basically giving the middle finger to the Russians.
Soviets.
Yeah, Soviets.
At the time, they were Soviets.
Present alongside USS Missouri. So basically the only two surviving battleships.
The Missouri was kept because it was the instrument of surrender, essentially.
Right.
And the Iowa was kept because it was Missouri's sister ship.
And technically the only two technical surviving battleships.
New Jersey, the Missouri to Pearl Harbor, and then now Norfolk got to Wisconsin. The only ship without a home was going to be the USS Iowa. I've seen how this process works, and it's a very difficult process, and a lot of things that have to happen in order to be able to.
And that would be down below as a footlocker.
Like ours.
Standard footlocker for a lot of troops.
Crew members' voices and their hearts, because they really love this ship and they don't want to see this ship scrap. We decided
this was this type of ship. Yeah, this is the model of the Arizona. This is part of the White Fleet that the Iowa class was slated to replace. Now you'll notice that the ships here in the White Fleet are a little more oblong.
Well, also if you look at their guns, they are very restrictive, especially the side guns.
What do you mean?
The side guns
over
here, I mean, you had to have massive redundancies to almost a ridiculous point.
Well, and while they did have a pair of, or for some reason they model TBF Avengers on here as seaplanes, but they did have seaplanes and they were launching the turrets, it's true, as well as the back area. The aft, the ship. They were largely redundant and superficial, out of place. The guns here were hard to aim, they were inaccurate, they were...
And we're talking about the side guns.
No, we're talking about the main cannons. People kept thinking, oh, more cannons, more guns means they're a ship. No. It doesn't matter how many guns you have if you can't aim them properly.
Right. And of course that was one of the reasons why the Arizona, besides the fact that it was bombed, got completely toasted.
Well, the bombing of the Arizona is a story in itself, and largely it's because among the 5 or so hits the Japanese scored on the Arizona, which is far more than they needed, at least one penetrated its ammunition magazine and split the ship in two. It detonated the entire ammunition stores.
And caused enough of a damage to where it dropped like a stone.
Oh yeah. The only reason we can see it so well is because Pearl is only 40 feet deep.
Yeah. Nope. So this is where the XO is.
Oh yeah.
Complete with the good old typewriter, and of course this was the sitting quarters, and then that's where he slept. Right?
Yeah, and this was luxurious for officers.
Well, he is the XO.
This is the XO,
yes. Down there.
Yeah, down here led to the boiler rooms.
And normally, did they ever open up the whole big part, or did you just have to be small to fit in?
They never opened up this except for maintenance. Windows and dry dock.
Okay, that's why sailors are usually so skinny.
That's why sailors are mandatory to be skinny. Those who are out of weight are out of shape.
This is a ship phone. I guess you communicate.
Yeah, that's the basic ship communication device.
Okay, for internal.
Yeah.
And this would be... Well, it's something I'm not exactly sure what it is, but you had all the lights everywhere because, well, they had to see. And I assume sitting here was a fire extinguisher because they had those everywhere.
Yeah. Ceiling lights, STB passage, ceiling lights, and ceiling lights.
Basically
yeah.
a fuse box.
Essentially, yeah. And nothing was concealed because, well, as military officer, let's go.
Sailors also weren't allowed to be tall.
Well, if you were tall, then
You hurt yourself a lot.
yeah.
So we've got fire hoses here. We've got I believe that's a pry bar or a hose
Yes,
extension.
basically. Every
Med
soldier, or I didn't say soldier,
Sailor Marine.
sailor, went through basic training. It's a lot like what they go through now. They're obligated to be everything.
Right. I remember getting ready for the ship training. So and then we've got here more fire extinguishers. This is just your standard berth room with lockers.
Yes.
It's got two bunk beds.
Yep. And people are often hot bunk or hot bed, hot bunk.
Hot bunk, yeah. Basically shifts, they swap.
Yes. And you'd be lucky if you had 1 foot locker yourself. These are the toilets.
So this one was the commander, so he got his own single bunk.
This wasn't the commander. This is a division commander, petty officer.
But basically he was more important. So he
Petty
got a
officer in
single.
charge.
Right, so he got more space because he was more important.
He was PYC. So yeah, rank has privileges.
And then they've got lockers all over here.
He also was stationed right next to the toilets. Officer's head.
Yeah, where they could have their toilet and their shower time, unlike showering with all the regular people.
Again, rank has its privileges.
And then, of course, fireman pressure there. Doors to grab things out of.
Utility closet, primarily.
Are these Geiger counter things? No, they're flashing. They're strobes.
They're
right.
emergency lights. These were jury-rigged as new lights for visitors and for maintenance personnel.
If all power was lost. Okay, we've got our decontamination entrance.
Officer's head, other entrance.
Over here. Again, somebody's important place. This, radioman? It's got a safe.
This was the radio officer's room.
Well, or like the code breaker and stuff. Important person.
The important person didn't have rank, but they're still important.
Oh, so he's usually the intel officer.
No, communications officer.
Okay, which communications officer had minor training in intel because he had to.
It wasn't always necessary when you're on a battleship. It was meant to interpret intel, but it wasn't meant to gather.
Okay, so these were the cranes we were talking about.
Yes. Because now we're getting forward with the ship, which means, yeah, you were close to the turrets.
Right. So they would be hauled up here. Then what? They would be trucked out here, I guess, or because it seems weird to have.
Captain's bunk. Captain Marvin D. Norton, Jr., U.S. Navy. Naval Academy Class of 39. Naval 80 World War II, Torpedo Squadron 10, VT-10 USS Enterprise.
Which is why he was the Navy. He was a flyer. He was a flyboy before.
Yeah, he was a lieutenant when he was an aviator, and then was promoted to captain in command of a warship.
And of course, these were your standard bunk rooms and all that stuff. More than likely.
The standard bunk rooms being another portion of the ship.
And of course, every single.
This would be another petty officer in charge.
Yeah. So this is for the door in case they had.
Yeah.
Air conditioned boundary, keep door closed. Oh yes, before when they didn't have air conditioning.
That's primarily what these were for, because they didn't have air conditioning. bombardment of Millie Atoll, Iowa, supporting the Marshall Islands campaign. The ship received her first hit in combat when he was struck by 2 projectiles from a Japanese shore battery. Now he caused any real damage, and the enemy gunner placed him satisfied Iowa's secondary fighter.
Which there's the part they left it on as a way to basically go haha.
In other words, this is what armored plane does.
Okay, we've got an artifact under reconstruction. What do we got here?
Stereo optical rangefinder.
So basically it's icy stuff.
I see stuff a long way away.
So which way do you want to go? You want to go this way or you want to go across?
The arrows are pointing this way.
Arrows are also pointing that way, so let's go. Well, let's check first this level in a second. So we have
40mm saluting gun.
right, which of course
is the most commonly recognized customary gun salutes that are performed by the firing of cannons, artillery, and military honor. 19-gun salute may be fired in honor of dignitaries such as the Vice President, Speaker of the House, President Pro Tem, Chief Justice of the United States, State Governors, Chief Staff, and Vice Generals. The armed salutes lessons with lower-ranking officers. Salutes the nation. Practice of firing one shot for each state was officially established in 1810. There were 18 states of the Union at the time. This tradition continued until 1841, when it was established as 21 guns. Current tradition has the salutes the nation as 50 shots by capable military bases. One for each state in the Union, fired at noon on Independence Day, would enable us to fire 21 gun salutes.
so that's why this is covered, because this thing still
Operates, still fires.
Yep. Like I said, it fires blanks.
The gun salute dedicated to veterans and Memorial 11th Day when the U.S. and the World War I allied countries commemorate the sacrifices made by the men and women who were served in the armed forces. The salute may be performed in the state. Veterans Day honors all military service members, not just those who died.
I get the feeling wandering over to the other side. Okay, what are these little boxes for? Are they like storage of some kind?
They're storage for firefighting equipment.
Oh, yeah. And then vents that were open to let heat out, I assume.
Yep.
Because of course, stuff got really hot.
Stuff got hot on civilian ships and warships. It got insufferable.
The turret 2 explosion.
Yep, in honor of those who served American Turret 2, 4/14/89. Battleship Iowa was conducting peacetime gunnery drills off the coast of Puerto Rico, and an explosion occurred in Turret 2. Gun crews were to fire the slingshotter gun, and the breach was still open when its powder bag prematurely ignited. And has crew died instantly, and the resulting fire spread throughout the turret and down the decks below. And all 47 sailors lost their lives, most of the smoke and toxic fumes. Iowa's damage control crews responded quickly, and their efforts in fighting the fire prevented the remaining 2 loaded guns from exploding. The turret's magazines were flooded, and the fires were extinguished in about 90 minutes. The brave and skillful actions of the crew prevented additional explosions from occurring. thus avoiding the potential loss of traditional men and possibly Iowa herself.
They probably did a whole investigation for it, didn't they?
Yeah, the
It was JAG, was it?
no, JAG was invented in 1994 after the tailhook fiasco.
Oh, that's right.
Dude, you remind me of the tailhook fiasco.
Another time. So in this we have, I assume, something important. Oh, presidential dining room.
For hosting dignitaries at the state. There's the sound.
Alright, so then we've got this directional part that we can see. Another salute gun.
No. Well, that one is, yeah.
But
these,
that's,
these
yeah.
are 5-inch anti-ship guns.
And that's the, I guess if somebody's going up to a certain area, probably for people to see who are in wheelchairs.
Pretty much.
Alright. Back to the other side. So have you ever actually seen this before in person?
Not in person, no.
What's your thoughts so far?
I'm enjoying it. How about you?
Well, I'm learning a lot, and I assume so are many others.
I hope so.
Frederick, come here. Guys. Come here. Don't
Okay, so here's a question. I know they did broadsides with the big guns,
Yeah.
but was there ever a time when all guns were firing at once?
Not that I recall. However, it doesn't mean they couldn't. It just meant it was impractical to do so. Because different guns have different ranges.
Right.
The primary guns, the cannons, primary cannons, had a range of upwards of 30 miles.
So this was an entrance to the turret right here?
Yes, this entrance to the 5-inch gun turret.
You can also check on the top, which is why they have the bottom covered so people don't climb on it.
Yep.
So we've got another...
It's chained.
Right, but that's how
Yeah.
they would go back and forth. I guess you get to see one of these on the gun turret things. It looks like they welded this one shut,
They did.
but they had many doors, it looks like.
Oh, because they had to have doors for the ammunition. Because these weren't like immense multi-level turrets like main cannons.
Okay, what's with these? Right here. I assume these were used for, what, storage or something? The
these
metal
racks?
racks? Yeah.
Yeah, and they were also used to rescue if the crew needed to get out.
Mm.
To pull them up, and they would be used.
Jump out and
yeah.
climb.
They were not used for ammunition. That would,
Right.
That would be impractical.
Impractical and dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, we have our welding equipment there.
The concept wasn't to rescue all the crew. That would be impossible.
Right.
If the guns were exploded, then everyone's pretty much dead. The concept was to rescue at least 1 or 2.
Okay. Flammable liquid storage locker. Fire extinguishing system. And then these were all... These honestly looked like they were an area where they would run air through, water through.
Air and water seawater. Almost every place on a ship could be floated at will.
Yeah.
And pumped with seawater.
Be careful.
And then again, as always, metal storage to protect. And then I assume those didn't normally have spikes on them. They're there because of the birds.
No, yeah. Those are anti-bird devices.
Sorry. Okay, so what's all that? That looks like...
There's the boiler room entrance.
So this was all opened.
This was all open because you needed to vent a lot of heat badly.
Then we have our swabbing of the deck.
Otherwise, you could have flambe ceilings.
And I assume your Morse light / searchlight.
Yep. And the concept would be to steal LI chips.
Mm-hmm. Or sometimes ships like the Red October.
Yeah, if only they actually happened.
Well, I'm sure things like it happened. So you can go out through
I mean, there was one time when Anatoly Vashchev actually flew his MiG from his airbase in then Soviet Russia over to Alaska.
Okay. Ah, that's something interesting.
But the Americans went heavily, flew to Okinawa instead. Little did he know that he was running American territory.
So each turret has its own alarm. Interesting.
Each turret was meant to be relatively autonomous.
Makes sense. You know, I'm almost thinking that this is actually the way the deck was. Wood.
In some cases, not the entire deck, but in some cases the upper decks.
Of course, we have the flags for communication here. With all of our...
Your signal flags.
And of course, same style as the fireman hoses. With the handle. And you pull it.
Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike, November, Oscar, Papa, Quebec, Romeo, Sierra, Tango, Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, X-Ray, Yankee, Zulu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. There is no 10.
Well, yeah, because that would be stupid.
If they wanted to spell 10, they can just put 1, 0.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, our rescue breathing. Beloved memories of certain people. Looks like dedicated by the Riggio family for USS Edsall. And destruction of it with the USS Houston. A giant one, just probably weighs ridiculous amounts.
UAS Quartermaster.
And then this is, I guess, again,
Viewport. Was.
so these were the ready service boxes, ammunition.
Yeah.
So that's what those are all over the place. Those are boxes of ammunition that needed to be reloaded.
And this would be the small decal or similar ammunition.
Looks like more searchlights.
You never have too many searchlights on a battleship. You
That's
need to
true.
See where you're going and what you're firing at.
And see, if anybody else is there. And so this is our compass, right? Gyroscopic compass, actually.
Yeah, Henschel. German company.
Yeah, gyro compass equipment, which was probably added, obviously, after World War II.
A lot of the first flights were pre-World War II. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Because pre-World War II, they didn't have radar.
And then, of course, flag bridge. Oh, separate bridge for these. Interesting.
Provide flagship capabilities with a separate bridge for the use of flag officers and their staffs. Flag bridge should be on a different level from the ship's navigating bridge and would not be involved with Iowa's ongoing shipboard activities. Normally, there would be an admiral or a high-ranking officer exercising command over either several ships with its units or during strategic action.
So she was always a flagship. Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
We have another gyro up here, which makes sense. Here we have the outdoor radios.
Yep.
And where people could see exactly what was going on, the helmsman was doing.
And here is a bridge.
With another radio telephone. And with an so that's a regular line, and this is the emergency. Then you ring the bell.
And that's the outside.
Right. You get this.
That works.
Bridge launcher control panel. So this is for the Mark 164.
.485OC, 485A7 Navy navigation. There's the wheel for the ship.
Mm-hmm. Helmsman.
Yep. Helm control.
And they wanted the and before they had the helm uncovered, but after many attacks they realized that's bad.
Range azimuth indicator. Radar repeater. This is after they actually installed radar. ANSPA 25G.
And then we have this. We have our emergency telephone. And of course your windshield wipers, because obviously you need to have it when you're rushing through things. You can see this, so this is why the reason why they always said all ahead full and then they repeated it is because
to translate it to, or transliterate it to other departments, such as the engine room.
Mm-hmm. Then of course we have here the volume control. And again, this will be port, service, all that, and then...
And they had to be redundant because otherwise it's where the commanding officer would sit.
Yep.
They had to be redundant and repeating the orders so that everything is clear. And everything was copacetic because otherwise bad things would happen.
Yep, armored conning tower on the way to jump down if needed. We've got our warning system. If anything was bad, okay? We got our pressure, our flow meter, regulator, valves. Of course, do not operate. Buttons
All
and
fuses 5 amps, wake, blinker lights, spare, anchor left, forward anchor light, single lights, booster, aft anchor lights.
so again, they put this all in So the ship could pretty much take a direct hit.
And keep running.
Mm-hmm. So you could have the entire bridge taken out, and...
Now you notice the flag bridge is not nearly as armored as this one.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's because the flag bridge just gave orders. This thing drove the ship. And you take this thing out.
And the other thing is, they didn't put too much faith in preserving flag officers. They wanted to preserve the captain of the ship. The admiral could go to hell.
And just as you actually wanted to, besides the captain, preserve the helmsman, because it took a lot of training to drive this dang thing.
Oh yeah.
It's why I believe good helmsmen were incredibly coveted.
And that's why it was so difficult to learn at basic.
Gonna have to change the battery soon. It's down 35%, but I've got the backups. Here we have our two searchlights.
Yep.
Look at the name on it.
Raytheon. Yeah. That's where they made the name for themselves.
Raytheon radar. So
Just take a second and think of what officers who are standing right here and looked out over the sea. Think of like what Admiral Halsey thought. Halsey
Yep.
here in 43.
and you could and this was usually what here was when usually where you had the person talking to everybody else if they had somebody during the day, like, because you could turn the course and tell them you wanted steady, need it right.
You have to like communicate to them verbally too, so you know what was going on.
Yeah. These rudder, I mean, the hard over is pretty much the worst, right? It's you turn now.
Rudder hard over, yeah, that's crucial. That's also like immediate, like rapid course change, which you don't want to do.
Well, I'm guessing it was only done especially if you were dealing with, oh, what's the word? Torpedoes incoming.
Yeah, in that case especially.
It's you dodge now.
You dodge more, you die.
Now we're getting our CWAS, our phalanx. Got our fire control system. Alright, I'm at 31. We'll be right back with part 2.
So this is a fire control system for the entire secondary battery of 5.5-inch guns. Basically, all the big guns that we've seen so far, not the main cannons but the bigger guns.
The side guns, right?
Yes, are controlled through this fire control system.
And they're called, it says Mark 37s?
Mark 37 directors.
Okay, so that's the director for the 5-inch guns mount.
Yeah. This was the finest afloat when Iowa's first invasion in World War II. It was in use in almost every U.S. warship with 5-inch gun mounts.
And this,
Used by Iowa throughout the 80s. And into Desert Storm.
I mean, it was upgraded, but for the most part it stayed kind of the same, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Mark 37's tracks target bearings, elevation, and range settings. Optical equipment consists of a stereoscopic rangefinder, 2 telescopes, and a slewing sight or target designator.
Basically, target designator is kind of when they talk about stuff and they say we're going to laze it.
That's it. And here we have
The right side. We're gonna get to go around closer to it, it looks like.
and the left side right there.
Yep, which this one we can actually go straight up to. So, if I'm understanding this correctly, well, number one, you didn't want to stand anywhere near it because it was loud as hell.
You would lose your hearing in a heartbeat.
Unless you had protection, and then even then. Oh, it had 4 of these things. Oh my god.
2 aft, 2 forward. 2 starboard and 2 port.
They are located so any 2 COS guns can fire on a target 360 degrees around the battlefield. So it's a 20 millimeter. Basically, it's the same thing that's on a A10.
No. It had a 30 millimeter.
A10, that's 30. Okay. Oh, sorry. This is the same thing that's on the sides of a Blackhawk.
More or less, except this one fires a lot faster.
Right. Capable of firing 3,000 rounds per minute within a range of 2,000 yards. Velocity is 36,000 feet per second. Contains a closed-loop microwave radar system that can track the firing of its own bullets to the target. Bullets were made of depleted uranium, stored in the gun itself. So, nickname the nickname for the units is R2-D2, as their white dome resembles the famous droid from the popular Star Wars. Yeah, they're not kidding, but this is R2-D2, which will kick your butt.
For real. There's the gun barrels.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's computer controlled and computer guided, everything goes like right where.
Brrr.
Yep. Well, that too, but everything goes right where they intended.
Okay, and then we got another fire control with are those red things flares?
Yes. Just in case. See, this is the actual deck plate.
So that means it probably rusted through for the most part.
Pretty much.
Oh, it's our missile defense system, so I was right. Yeah, chaff and decoys. So if we want to get a closer look, right here, that's them, and they would load them from the front and then knock them into position. And this was storage for flares, I assume, right?
Flares, chaff, everything along the sorts. No smoking allowed.
Well, yeah. It fires off explosive.
Oh, and these? Servo launcher. All 4 of these.
Yep. All 4 of these, 6 each, and I guess you would put them in and then lock them into place. And then there was some more storage for them as well. Because there were no guns in this area. This is just fire control system, I believe.
Yep. Very steep, so watch your step.
And watch your head.
Oh, you're taller than I am. Gotta watch your head.
Yep. It's also where they put that handle.
And foam.
I assume we go around this way.
Yeah, I was looking at the stuff.
Oh.
Secondary battery radar room.
Ah.
Rangefinder.
Oh, yes, the armored tomahawk. So these basically also were outfitted with tomahawks because it's only a war crime the first time. Yes, shameless plug to the Fat Electrician for those lines. There's the other two CWIS launchers. And if I remember correctly, the Tomahawks could be fired sideways because they were basically fired right out.
Actually, yeah, they can be fired sideways, and on some modifications of the ship, not this one obviously, they could be tilted up and fired vertically.
Well, this one probably used to have that, but after it was decommissioned.
Decommissioned, it was all good, yeah.
Yeah. Danger, danger. High voltage.
OK 吗？
我也想了一样。
Yeah, these were on raisable things. They had to be. These aren't the originals, I don't think.
Oh yeah, these are so you can tell these haven't been moved.
Well, that's true. The amount that it would take to be moved would be ridiculous. Oh, wait, I see what they did. They slid open. So that's why there's so much room in the middle. They slid open this way.
Oh yeah, Jeff, they're gigantic cruise missiles. What's up that? They're so used today.
Lifeline must be attached when the skip box is in use. Then we had... oh yes, the harpoons. Harpoon anti-ship missiles, right?
Yep, that's right.
Oh! That's how they were loaded. I was wrong. Oh, that's cool. That's how the Tomahawks were loaded. Oh, that's terrifying. It means they just had to lift up. And then they were fired inside those racks. Mother of God.
Now Western working party on the pier for bringing on stores.
Yeah, like you said. Fuck.
See?
Mm.
I know what I'm talking about. I don't know why you get so
Me. Me. Oh, so they loaded them like torpedoes. Getting them up here, though, must have been a pain. Once they were out, they were probably out.
As an armament officer, you walk, or ordnance officer, you walk back here, ran back here every day, train.
Yeah, there were some, when I was in the military, there was a guy who was trained to be an ordnance officer, and it was just like, dear God, man, you crazy. Yes, enjoy our cruise ship. Harpoon cruise missile launchers. Oh, and there's an actual harpoon. Of course, this isn't what they actually look out. The wings actually popped out after it was fired, didn't it?
No, those for the tomahawks. Harpoons were folded.
Oh,
and
right.
then
Yeah.
they emerged after.
Right, yeah.
launch.
AGM 84 something or other.
No. AGM 8. Yeah, but I'm saying it's AGM
84 something or other.
84 something 1.
Yeah.
Still been going. AGM 84-1.
Okay, so we were close. And of course, Boeing.
That's what I just said. At the Iowa during modernization in '83, 4 quad Kevlar armored tubes called Castor missile launchers. Iowa has 4 launchers located in the AFO3 level between the port side and starboard.
And yes, made with Kevlar, aka the exact same thing in flak vests.
Mm-hmm.
And back down into the bowels of the ship.
Closed, yeah. See, a lot of the ship is open to air because vents are imperative.
Yeah, so this is actually open sometimes. And they close it completely watertight, right? Because, well, not watertight, but airtight.
These type of doors actually can be seen on every type of Navy warship, from aircraft
Yeah.
carriers, cruisers, destroyers, and obviously battleships.
Yeah. They're also known as the watertight doors because they were used on subs, right?
No, those type of doors were similar, but the ones on subs are even tighter. Because in subs it's imperative. In service vessels it's crucial, but in subs it's absolutely imperative.
Those were usually closed like to stop fires from spreading.
Or water.
Well, like for these.
Oh, for these, yeah.
It was to deny the oxygen.
And to make it easier for shipboard firefighters.
So we can see the inside of the door here, actually.
Yeah, this leads into. This is actually not supposed to open.
Right, but we're opening it just to show them.
Yeah. This leads into the main deck and bowels of the ship.
Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and
Yeah.
close it back up for them. And then they would take this and rotate it.
Lock, yeah.
Now, this isn't as secure as the other one, right?
Not
So-
even. No. The more secure doors you'll find on the interior of the ship. The further you get into the ship, the more secure the doors will be.
Right.
The more open to fresh air, the less secure. Now, there's no such thing as unsecured ship.
Right. And the reason the stairs are so ridiculous is there was always a premium on space.
Well, yeah. I mean, space is a valuable commodity.
That's their AC systems.
And to get down on the stairs, often you skip the stairs entirely and just slide.
Mm-hmm. So this is our 5-inch.
5-inch 38 caliber twin mount upper handling room.
You can see the shells and the way it all works. There's the loading. That. And this was that we'd use to climb in.
Yep.
Yeah, like you said, they plywooded it up to protect the deck from more rust.
Hello?
So where are we now?
This is a main crew berths.
Which is why they've got 3 stacks.
You have 3 bunks here, 3 bunks here, and 3 here,
Yes, this is the Enlisted.
3 down here. Yes, this is very much enlisted. You'll not find officers here.
Oh god. In the 1940s, it was even more ridiculous. Here, could you hold this?
Yeah. Iowa's enlisted crew berthing was mostly on the second deck, with other compartments on the main deck and third deck fore and aft. World War II era pole and canvas racks, sometimes stacked 5 high, replaced by newer stacked racks with curtains during Iowa's 84 refurbishment. While Iowa's World War II enlisted crew swelled to 2,640, there was no hot bunking, turning bunks required. The Korean War's enlisted crew was reduced to 2,450, and the Cold War again reduced to 1,450. Air conditioning was added for crew comfort in 84. Storage was either in a coffin locker, rack's bottom.
Right here?
Yep, with 1 small stand-up locker or 1 large, 1 small locker.
And this was, they actually trained us in the Navy in basic training on the two bunk, with each one of us, if I'm correct on this, if you look, like sometimes it was right under here.
Mm-hmm.
For some, that's where all your storage was.
Ah.
But that really only happens in this coffin locker at the bottom because of the premium on space.
Yeah. And they give you pictures here, 1940s racks, World War II, and the 1980s racks.
Right, the 1980s racks, they also still had their basically school gym lockers styles. Here,
I wish my gym lockers were that big.
well, this was for all their stuff. And then they had emergency breathing apparatus right here. And that little metal container right up there.
Oh, yeah.
Then, of course, they also had emergency lights with power plugs. You got your curtains. This, I believe, would be another bunk.
These will all be brand new. These will all be bunks, essentially.
We just finished rehabilitating this space. It looks a lot like it did when I served aboard Iowa. I hope you guys have enjoyed it and enjoy the rest of your tour.
Yeah, they would sometimes be this close. Yeah, there was no privacy, and the worst possible thing that could happen is if you felt your bunk shaking
Hi, my name is David Campbell.
and you knew you weren't doing anything.
We all know what that means.
Oh yes.
This was my home. The Navy gives you just enough and never more than you need.
He is
This
100% correct on that.
Compared to what the guys in the 50s had.
We had 5 high in some spots, and I was assigned a 4 high rack. It was the aluminum frame.
Yep.
They were on chains. You had a pole with a rocker.
Oh yes, the cleaning gear.
Got
Got the biggest locker of all.
I remember a interview from a World War II aviator who served on the USS Enterprise carrier. And he woke up really wet and felt hot liquid and realized his drunken squadron mate was peeing on him.
Now we've got cables run through all of here. You can actually see the security cameras that they set up, and the wiring harness is actually broke if you want to see it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Like, they designed these ships for setups for years. This is where some people ate or played cards. See, the lockers weren't as big as you thought they were. You got a little section.
You likely to share this with other guys.
Oh,
too.
God, yes. Oh, but this was oxygen breathing apparatus, especially.
Jeez.
Yes. Welding was done anywhere in the ship. So, this is a full-on welder that you would actually pull out, and they had to weld in this area. They started welding. And then over here, we have, if I'm looking at this correctly, yeah, more storage, more 40 BA, medical, and again, more storage stuff. Yeah, there's storage all over the damn ship.
That's like a high school toilet.
Oh yeah. There is no difference. It is that same way in the training barracks. Okay, we got our 2nd Division office here.
Yep. Careful coming down.
Yep. Biggest thing is you eventually have to learn to put your feet all the way back in a quick step.
Yep.
Because you basically ran. Then we've got all that good stuff.
Vice President Henry Wallace, in the state of Iowa, Crescent's Iowa launching.
My favorite, remember? Henry Wallace, that was his
Henry
name.
Wallace.
And that was when he was VP. Which, you know my opinions, but that's for a different thing.
Yeah.
I guess these are the ones who served.
It's a Battleship Center Crew Memorial. Yeah, these were all former Iowa crew members.
Who have passed away. Oh, I remember that guy.
1942 to 2015, yeah.
33, 2017. So,
(1917, 2016). 99 years old. 1937, 2016.
Then we have the Sea Knights. Oh yes. When we talk about, when you mentioned that other thing.
Oh yeah. Beef soup 2400. Yep. Salt, pepper, flour, fat, beef stock, peas, tomatoes, onions, small carrots, sliced potatoes, celery diced, flour for gravy, cold water, salt as desired, pepper as desired. It is never as desired.
Salt as desired by the chef.
Yes.
Or by the culinary specialist. And yes, supposedly they did cook it in vats like that.
Yep.
Which,
That makes sense. You got to feed over 2,000 sailors.
Yep. So we got more berthing here with lockers. Yep, so first commanding officer and got to stay with Roosevelt.
Mike Conner, President Roosevelt, had to stay with him as his cabin as he crossed the Atlantic on USS Iowa to the Tehran Conference.
That's the worst part, that is just straight math.
2,800 men consume 7 tons of food per day.
Mm-hmm.
1.5 tons fresh food, 2 tons frozen, 3.5 tons dried non-perishable.
Yep.
The occurrence of the Iowa in October 1944 can be regarded as fairly typical. She started to run 20 tons short of fresh meat, problem aggravated by the fact that her allowance was identical to that of South Dakota battleships, which had 500 fewer men on board. During the month, she transferred 4,500 tons of provisions to cruisers, destroyers, and tankers, including 400 gallons of ice cream to oilers. Her action report noted at no time were any requests for fresh provisions refused.
And then you've got your Master Chief here.
Command Master Chief Petty Officer Bobby Scott. 3492.
Mm-hmm. He was the surface warfare commander.
As a swell anchor tank or a shell for last time and paid its the Navy, was the picture of the ship and all ships in the U.S. Navy. The men armament privileged to serve the U.S. Navy. Scout's retirement ceremony, April 92.
Enlisted mess, all the food you could get at the time. I think we can go in there. That might be a custom tour. Oh yes, the mess. Probably the area that takes the most of the ship. And
now, you remember the mess room we saw earlier? That was the officer's gallery. This is the enlisted mess.
Oh yes, this is the enlisted, and this is what it looks almost exactly in Chicago. They have it looking somewhat exactly like this. You grab a tray, you go down the line.
And they slap on your tray.
Yeah, you want this? Want this? Okay, or it's here you go. You sometimes get a choice, but not much.
Depends on how forward you are in the line.
But you do not have much time to eat. You inhale. The reason I still eat so fast is because you learn to inhale.
And you can't really break that habit.
You can't. It's actually physically impossible. Because it gets drilled into your brain. Ah, yes, the electrical room. Getting ready for the engine room. And basically, if you wanted to die on a ship, this is probably the quickest way to do it.
Put your hand in there and fry.
Put your hand in there and you will probably be blown back into that. Ah, yes. And if you wanted to dispose of a body.
Where did the ship's trash go? Right here, the incinerator. And that's...
Yep. So this is the direct precursor, and of course, if I remember correctly, the Sea Knight still maintains some of this bubble cockpit.
It does, because it gives unparalleled visibility.
Right, and in the Navy especially, you don't expect to usually be taking ground fire. Now these must have been a giant pain because they've only got 2 wheels. Technically a third one, which they could use to move around, but Sea Knights are a lot better.
Yeah. But this was a great predecessor.
Oh, yes. Oh, Hup 82 served in the French Navy. Okay, that's pretty cool.
In the Vietnam War, flying on French aircraft carriers, including carrier Lafayette, the former USS Langley, which was sold to the French.
Mm-hmm.
Helicopter phased out of service for the French Navy in '65. Hup 82, along with 3 other Hups, were purchased by a French company and used to inspect pipelines. December, Hup 82 was purchased for display at the National Aviation Museum, located at the Schiphol Aircraft Amsterdam. Oh!
Then
October 82, Hup 82 was loaned to an aircraft school at Zwolle, Netherlands.
in 1990,
1985, April, Hup 82 was sold to an air enthusiast and stored at Enlisted Airport, Netherlands.
where it stayed from 1985 to about 2007.
Hup 82 was purchased by Hup aircraft enthusiast John Goebel and shipped to Connecticut to be refurbished back to U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Hup 82 was donated by the family of the late John Goebel to the American Helicopter Museum Education Center and started out at Piasecki Aircraft Plant in Essington, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
In 2016, October, Hup 82 was purchased by the nonprofit Battleship Center, which operates this Battleship Iowa Museum in San Pedro, California, to be refurbished for display aboard the Iowa.
And there's the guy who trucked it, Mike Miranda. Which means he trucked it all the way from Pennsylvania to here.
Oversized load, I should say so.
Mm-hmm. And you know, dang well everybody was staring at it as they drove.
Wondering what the hell is he carrying?
Well,
The people who were in the know knew it was a helicopter, they didn't know what.
yeah.